Hello. The daytime and nighttime temperatures are just starting to rise here at Homegrown Veg in the UK, but we don't want to jump the gun. We want to give it a little longer. There's still every chance we'll catch a frost, but it's too wet anyway to be trying to garden, but we're making preparations. These are my buckets of soil standing outdoors. These have overwintered now. The soil's been in these buckets for about 5 to 6 months, covered in a layer of chop and drop that comprised seaweed, grass and leaves. Most of that has disappeared now into the bucket. My raised beds are also empty, and I've covered those with a layer of organic chop and drop, and most of that has gone into the soil now. The only thing I have in those raised beds, I think, is half a dozen spring cabbages. So we're just doing some soil maintenance over winter. The soil should be getting better, and in the spring of the year what we'll do is we'll turn those buckets out and we'll incorporate some fertiliser into the soil. We'll put it back into the buckets and we'll plant something. I've done that for a number of years now. The soil in the buckets I must have used now for more than 10 years, year after year after year after year. But if you manage the soil, if you put back what you've taken out, and if you, provided you don't grow the same crop year after year after year, then soil's good to go forever, more or less. And as you'll know, in my buckets I'll grow leeks, I'll grow onions, I'll grow beetroot, I'll grow beans, I'll grow potatoes, I'll grow carrots, I'll grow sweet corn. So it's crop rotation in a bucket really. So we don't overdo it with one particular crop in a bucket of soil year after year. Now let me show you the fertilisers I've been buying recently, and these are the fertilisers we're going to be using this year when we start growing vegetables. This is a 3 kilogram bag of blood, fish and bone. It is an organic balanced fertiliser. It is a nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium ratio of 5:5:6. This is a 3 kilogram bag of Grow More. Grow More is a compound balanced fertiliser. It has a nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium ratio, NPK, of 7:7:7. Grow More is a good all-round general fertiliser. These are some of my seed potatoes. As you can see, they're starting to chit up nicely. We haven't got them in yet, but when we do get them in, we will be incorporating some of this into the mix. This is a compound specialist potato fertiliser. It has a nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium ratio of 6:10:10. So as you can see from those figures, it's not a balanced fertiliser. This fertiliser has been compounded and put together specifically to grow potatoes. So we'll be using some of this to grow some of these in buckets and raised beds this year at Homegrown Veg. Now if you want a specialist potato fertiliser, simply Google it and you'll find some. Any fertiliser that you require, if it's specialist, if it's for growing leeks, onions, sweet corns, tomatoes, potatoes, any of the vegetables, just go in the search bar, potato fertiliser, tomato fertiliser, and you'll find the specialist fertiliser for that particular vegetable. These are some onions I started about 3 weeks ago, and these are some leeks I started about 3 weeks ago. These guys are likely to finish up in the raised beds. And we'll also grow some in buckets. Okay, this is another specialist fertiliser. This is a compound specialist onion fertiliser, another compound fertiliser. Okay, it does just as well for leeks as it does for onions. So if you're growing leeks or onions and you want a specialist fertiliser, it is available. And the nitrogen phosphorus NPK ratio of this particular fertiliser, this onion fertiliser, is 6, 18, 15. That's nitrogen 6, phosphorus 18, potassium 15. Now you can see there is a big imbalance there. So this is not a balanced fertiliser. This fertiliser is for these type of vegetables. Okay, and this particular bag also contains 2% magnesium. Clearly the onions and leeks like magnesium, and that's why it's included in this fertiliser. So if you're going to be growing onions and leeks, you want to give them the best chance, you may want to get some specialist fertiliser. These are some onions I grew last year. These onions have been in store now for about 6 months, simply stored in these plastic crates stacked one above the other in my garage. These are big onions, check these out. I mean, compare those onions to the size of my hand, look at that. Big, sound, solid onions grown from seed. This is Ailsa Craig, and we're hoping to grow these onions again this year. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope that you're getting on well with your preparations, and that you have a good growing year. Okay. So this is Homegrown Veg signing out. The NPK ratio is the percentage the product contains by volume of nitrogen, chemical symbol N, phosphorus, chemical symbol P, and potassium, chemical symbol K. So for example, a 6-10-10 fertiliser contains 6% nitrogen, 10% phosphorus, and 10% potassium. The NPK ratio is the percentage of the product. The NPK ratio